Over here on the left, you guys can see that Magnum TI Ferrari 308. That's actually not a Ferrari at all. Just a VW bug engine. It's seated on a dune buggy chassis, and we created the Ferrari fiberglass shell to go over the top. It's relatively inexpensive for a luxury car. Also over here on the left, you guys are going to see some of our Fast and Furious picture cars. Can't talk picture cars without talking about Fast and Furious. We've even got that infamous flip car from Fast and Furious 6 over here on the very end. Right alongside some of our military vehicles from Transformers. You guys can see that tank, how the gun is sort of bent on the end. That's actually made out of plywood instead of steel, like a regular tank. Makes it much easier to move around the lot. Now, we were saying earlier out here on the back lot, the world is literally right around the corner. Well, now, guys, we're going to prove it to you. We're going all the way from the mean streets of Motor Alley to a remote island off the coast of Costa Rica.
It's interesting.
So as we travel through this little area here, the set pieces and vehicles that you guys see on either side of the tram, all of these were used in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park trilogy, including up on your screen. You guys are seeing the mobile lab from Lost World Jurassic Park. That's it, over to your left-hand side. You guys can see it's made out of lightweight plywood where the paint is stripping away, especially here on this vast window if you look over your shoulders there. Now, it has to be made out of a lightweight material because, oh wow. Oh boy, sorry about that, guys. Looks like we've also got some dinosaurs hanging out back here as well. I don't want you guys to be too upset if you did get a little dino spit on you. You know those dinosaurs? They're just frontal dinosaur actors. They haven't had a lot of work since Jurassic Park 3 wrapped. You know, not 10 years ago now. Al?
Hi everybody, here's today's forecast for the Universal Backlot. It's going to be sunny and dry in 6 Points, Texas. Cool and cloudy in Middle Europe. Expect snow and ice on New York Street. We've got a high temperature anticipation of snow island. That's your forecast. Now here's a look at what's going on in your neck of the block.
Whoa, guys. Al Roker saying we got to look out for a flash flood. Yeah, okay, Al, I don't know about that one. Now, that rain that you guys see over here on the left-hand side is just an overhead sprinkler. Again, it's imagery. All that we're going to do is pump that water down and pass down to the ground. Oh, wow. After that, you guys always got wet on the Universal Tour if you sat in a blue seat today. So everybody go ahead and check. You're going to want to know, right? Don't want to be surprised later on. Rob, how are you doing up here? He's doing fine, guys. He's sitting in a black seat, so I don't know what the problem is back there. Now that flash flood that you guys just witnessed is happening again up on your screen. That's created when we release thousands of gallons of recycled water from Florida tanks up the top of the hill. We're really lazy, so we let gravity do most of the work. It tips those tanks over, takes that water all the way down. But we're going to cross the border now from Old Mexico into the Old West. We're headed to 6 Points, Texas. Now, just about every famous movie cowboy has moseyed on down these streets at one point or another, from Jimmy Stewart to the Duke, John Wayne himself. In fact, let's take a look at a classic cowboy duel that happened right here on the streets of 6 Points.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Jimmy Fallon.
Well, I ain't going anywhere, Jimmy Fallon.
Mosey on out of here, too. Now, remember, guys, how we were talking about the buildings that we saw on our Metro sets? They're just facades, the fronts and sides of buildings. Well, even though these sets, our Western sets, have been here since the beginning of the studio back in 1914, they're still built with a lot of those same techniques. You guys can see over here on the left-hand side as we turn the corner, that is the back side of a facade. So it is literally just the front and side. We let our audience's imagination fill in all the rest. Now, our 6-point Texas gets its name because in the early days of the studio, there were actually 6 different streets all in that one area. 6-point Texas holds the world record for having the most movies shot in this one location, more than anywhere else in the world. So pretty impressive. In fact, in the early days of the studio, the first year that the studio was open, we filmed over 250 Western films out on our 6-point Texas. Over here on the right-hand side, you guys are seeing a little bit of our first lake area. Now, this long, green, grassy left-hand side, you guys are seeing 2 of the oldest movie-making illusions in the book here. These is the use of miniature models. Those are the SS Venture and Skull Island. Those miniatures were used in Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong film. Up on your screen, that's what the miniatures look like on film. Now, but I thought that incredibly detailed reminder of lots of miniatures instead of miniatures. And they're used for filming a lot of evidence where we don't want to use CGI. We don't have to use a practical effect like a miniature model instead. So we cover that area over. We're going to cover our cameras in plastic. We'll get our fog machines to create that fog going over the ocean waves. The waves are just created with the waves and paddleboards. And this is what it looks like on your screens when all of those elements come together. As you guys can see, it was entirely realistic until that little dust floats across your shot. That kind of throws the proportions off just a little bit there. Now, as you guys can see, we've traveled across the pond. We're in the middle of our very own Little Europe. Now, no studio tour would be complete without a stop in Little Europe, as this is where we shot our very first Best Picture Oscar winner, All Quiet on the Western Front. Shot out here back in 1930. They used this entire area as Germany. Now, if you have more recent movies like The Muppet movie with Daisy Spiegel and Amy Adams, they use this entire area as Germany, as Paris. This is where Kermit and Miss Piggy had a very important talk about their relationship on the top left-hand side. Now, this is our Little House set, currently being used for filming the Hallmark Channel's Home and Family show. Now, you guys can see our Little House. That's an example of what we would call a practical set. So the exact opposite of those sets that you saw out on our Denver street. With a practical set, that means not only are we shooting on the outside, we're also going to shoot on the inside. Our Little House is sort of like a real working house. It even has its own working kitchen, currently being used for the Hallmark Channel's Home and Family, hosted by Mark Steinitz and Christina Ferrari. Now, in addition to having our regular co-hosts, Mark and Christina, we also have a few celebrity guest stars that'll come through sometimes. One time I was out here, I was doing my little spiel. We saw a man over here on the left in a really sparkly shirt, and I was kind of laughing because the shirt was so sparkly. Turns out Neil Diamond was visiting the Home and Family set. So guys, you really never know who you might see out here. Is an hourly show on the Hallmark Channel, so it airs at the top of each hour. So they've got a ton of episodes to film, tons of work to do out here. Now, when they are filming, as you guys saw in that little clip, our trams just keep on traveling through. In fact, that entire audience that you guys saw, they're out there cheering and clapping for those little Q&A sessions that they'll do in their garden back there, just on the other side of that fence. Soundstage 50 appeared in an episode of Fox's hit show Bones with David Boreanaz and Emily Deschanel. I'll show you guys that up on your screens there. This entire area also appeared in Beverly Hills Top 3 with Eddie Murphy. So this was the interior of a soundstage. Luckily, Rob knows the crew that's working on the project in here. They've just taken a little break. You guys can see all of that camera equipment and my good friend Scuba Steve is out there. There he is, just sweeping the area, making sure everything's safe for our swimmers. Steve, you might want to get back in the boat there, fella. Steve? Oh, no, guys. This is not good. Steve was my ride home. What am I going to do now? Now, it's too late for us to save Steve. We can still save ourselves. We're going to hide behind this highly flammable wood pier in this unattended gas station. This looks like a good spot for me. This does not look good. Now, on the plus side, I'm pretty sure it's already paid fire. So we should be okay. Oh, no. On the right-hand side, something's in the water. Now, does anybody know what kind of start Bruce is? Just shout it out. Anyone go. Okay. Based from the 1980s movie musical That's Little Whorehouse in Texas, starring Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. Now, as you guys can see, this entire area is being set up for filming another show on NBC called About a Boy. You guys can see into the backyard here. That's where we shoot our exterior scenes for that show with Mini Driver David Walton and Benjamin Stocka. So they've got this yellow facade behind our chicken ranch to make it look like it's right in the middle of a neighborhood. Now, speaking of neighborhoods, we're going to turn the corner onto our Colonial Street. But first, fans of ABC takes care of the Desperate Housewives. They recognize this street as Wisteria Lane. We're going to show you guys around the neighborhood, starting over here on the left-hand side. Lilac House belongs to Bob and Lee. In the later seasons, they have that big ugly metal mountain out front. Got to know their next-door neighbor, Susan, in this yellow and stone house. Susan, of course, played by Carrie Hafner. Right next door to Susan is a brown and white house. That's where Lynette and Tom Scavo live. Lynette, of course, played by Emmy Award winner Felicity.
To return to Wisteria Lane. Okay. You're not going to believe it? She's
Now, over on the left-hand side of this ground, you guys are also seeing this brown or bluish brick house. That one belonged to Bree Vandekamp, played by Marcia Cross. She lives right next door to Mary Alice Young, our undead narrator on the show in that green and stone house, played by Brenda Straw. Also over here on the right-hand side, this tan and white house, that one belonged to Gabrielle Solis, played by Eva Longoria. That was also where Jimmy Stewart's character lived in the 1950 film Barbie. And you guys have seen the decorations.
Thing everyone in suburbia can appreciate. It's a good neighbor.
Oh, what the hell? Let's move that.
Now, our Whoville exteriors are largely constructed out of styrofoam. In fact, we use more than 2 million linear feet of styrofoam throughout the course of filming. But those Whos, they had a little bit more to deal with than the Grits, because out here on the back lot, they live next door to, well, a little bit of a psycho. Okay guys, I think over here on the right-hand side, inside of the Bates Motel, we might have spotted Norman Bates himself. Now, he definitely does not want us to see what he's doing here, so we're just going to be very quiet. Maybe he won't notice. Oh, no, he spotted us. Hey Norman, how you doing, buddy? Oh, not so good, apparently. Okay, Rob, we're going to need to engage our flux capacitor. Bump this maybe up to 88 miles per hour. We got to get up this psychopath. Sir, in the Ford car, you definitely don't want to take this road. Now, that is the last thing you want to do, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the crash site from Steven Spielberg's sci-fi thriller War of the Worlds. This is one of the most colossal sets ever constructed on the Universal backlot. To tell us more about bringing director Steven Spielberg's vision to the big screen is production designer Rick Carter.
Airplane crash site set is a perfect example of a set that is all designed around the vision of people. And Chris, again, to sit down and talk about the world. That's all.
See, this brings a more tranquil scene. This long cabin here, you might recognize it as the exterior on Coach with Tracy Nelson. It also appeared in Scooter with Mark Wahlberg. But this cabin was originally constructed for a little film called The Great Outdoors. Now, you guys might have noticed we're traveling through an area where we've got a lot of construction going on here. Now, this is going to be a new end to the studio tour, a little bit of a fast and furious wrap up to our tour before people head back to the theme park. So as you guys can see over there on the left-hand side, massive undertaking. But the next time you folks come back to visit us, you'll have a new part of the studio tour to point out, so you guys will be able to see, say that you saw it before it was even constructed. So a little behind the scenes, CT that things to come over here. But on the right-hand side, you guys are seeing our Falls Lake area. Now this entire area, including this large blue backdrop, is used to construct scenes that take place in the middle of the ocean, or those big CGI or computer-generated imagery scenes. Now, this blue backdrop is the largest freestanding backdrop in North America, and we've used it to film scenes from Christopher Nolan's Inception. You guys remember in the movie that car that fell down into the river? It fell into the river right out there in our Falls Lake. I'll show you a couple other scenes that have shot right out there. Of the night, your final shot of the night. beautiful view of the San Fernando Valley, and you guys can even see some of our neighboring studios like Warner Brothers there in the distance. You can see that Warner Brothers water tower. Now, before we head back to the theme park, I do have a couple things to go over with you guys. First and foremost, thank you to our annual pass holders for joining us once again. Now, if you are not an annual pass holder, not to worry. You can head on up